So this episode is brought to you by the Creepy Crap Podcast. And by brought to you, I mean they don't really fucking do anything. They're not paying for this. They didn't even ask me to mention them, so they may not be happy about it. But it was inspired by it because I got in contact with the host, I think Daniel Crapster. I spoke with Mr. Crapster for a bit, and I've listened to a few episodes of the podcast. It's a really fun program. They have good guests. I think my disc is spinning around. No, it's not. Good guests. It's a very wild show. Mr. Crapster is much more entertaining than I personally am. So if you can sit through this, you'll probably really enjoy his program. And they did an episode on this, Howling 3, the Marsupials. It's an Australian program. And they didn't like it like I did. And that's what made me want to talk about this, because I've been talking about it so much for so many years that it's just old hat for me now. I mean, I've shown this movie probably to a dozen people. I've seen this movie probably 100 times. I've listened to audio commentary. It's just a film I've proselytized for a very long time and will always stand by. First off, you got to look at this poster. I love it. It's a take on the classic Howling poster, but it's just a cool picture. I like that poster on my wall. Ridiculous phrase, just when you thought it was safe to go down under. On the back cover, it refers to itself as a tongue-in-pouch horror comedy. And the basic setup of this film is, well, I don't really know. But events happen in the film and they play out. And essentially, there is a cult of marsupial werewolves, as in werewolves with pouches. And one of them, Jaboa, breaks out, and she goes to Australian Hollywood, where she meets up with this guy who, as soon as he sees her, he is her love interest in the film, and basically our hero of this story. He just starts chasing her. He just runs her down and until he corners her and says, "I'm working on this movie with this generic, great value Alfred Hitchcock character, and you'd be perfect for what we're looking for." And so she agrees to it, and you get this weird S&M Alfred Hitchcock character who I can't really even describe, and they're being hunted down by werewolf nuns as well as basically Larry the Cable Guy. And so the werewolves in this film, it's a weird thing where they're essentially epileptic. Like flashing lights will cause them or trigger them to transform. And it's really not much of a horror film at all. It's not even trying to be. Really, it's more of a satire about the Howling movies. And you could say that the film is entertaining and genuinely funny, or you could say it's funny because it fails on every level. I think most people would probably say the second. I just kind of worship this movie and don't care what the intent is. I love the final product so much. And there's just so many fun scenes. I always compare it to Troll 2. I've done this with the double feature with Troll 2 many times. And it's fascinating because some of my friends think that this movie is hysterical and Troll 2 sucks. And some people love Troll 2, but they don't really vibe with this. But like Troll 2 has Nilbog, this film has the town of Flo, which is wolf spelled backwards, of course. And you get my personal favorite character in the movie. I don't remember his name, but he's a crazy black guy who just jumps out and says, "How about we put some shrimps on the Barbie?" in the most stereotypical Australian voice. And there's a great bit building up to it where they keep talking about, I forget the name of the team now, we'll call it Rogue Squad. And they're like, you gotta watch out, we shouldn't get Rogue Squad involved. And then they bring up, should we get Rogue Squad involved later? And like, that might be too serious. Well, Rogue Squad is one guy with an SMG and another dude with a rocket launcher. And so Rogue Squad gets involved, and they're looking for the werewolves. And basically, my buddy, he transforms into a werewolf after stripping down and painting his body, and he goes into their tent. They just have like a fucking camping tent that Shrimp and Barbie guy goes in. You see a werewolf head, and then they both start shooting, and of course a rocket launcher blows the tent up and kills them all. So then our heroes find Shrimp and Barbie badly injured on his death rock, and Jaboa is giving him the speech like, you're going to go up into the air and you're going to be one with the rainbow. You'll be every color. You'll be everywhere. And he says, no, I'm just going to die. And then he dies. The film has a fun soundtrack. We get a Bad Moon Rising during a sex scene. Very funny stuff. The couple, they have sex for the first time. And the man afterwards, they're cuddling, and he puts his hand down, and then he finds it slipping into a pouch. But it looks like, to make them look sweaty, like they're really going at it, having some rough werewolf Tasmanian devil sex. They look like they just get sprayed with a hose. And there's a scene where the character's thrown out of a window. And I'm confusing this with the Neon Genesis Evangelion song, but it sounds like tumbling down or falling down, and you see the dummy fall down a building. The tone of this movie is just all over the place, where by the end of it, it essentially becomes a drama film about these characters living outside of society and just having a family, and then you see the main two characters, Jaboa and the rapist guy. Their son meets up with a scientist character who is also throughout the movie I haven't really mentioned at all. And they're reconnecting, and you can see where they all wound up in life, and it's happy. Before inevitably the Howling 1 conclusion reiterated, essentially. But this time, instead of being in the newsroom and having the husband ready to shoot her with a gun, the Jaboa is a famous actress, and paparazzi's taking pictures because she won an Oscar or something. And then she transforms, and then the nuns are in a cave watching a TV. It's weird. You'll never... It's like Mad Libs. You got werewolf nuns watching television in a cave. And it's something. I mean, there's no other movie like it. And it's hard to even talk about this film because it's like being in love. I love this movie romantically. And it's like describing a soulmate where... There's just so much that I adore that I don't think many other people will see in this movie. But I keep recommending it. I keep telling people because I'm in this cult and I'm devoted to it. And I think everybody should experience what I've experienced with the Howling 3, the Marsupials. One more thing I gotta add. I mean, once again, I'm just throwing stuff at the wall that happens in this picture. But there is a scene where there's a ballerina performance, kind of a rehearsal, and the werewolf ballerina lady, who's one of the strangest actresses I've ever seen, her mannerisms and just the faces she makes in this are something. She transforms mid-twirl. Actually, I think she's thrown up in the air, and you know, her dancing partner's waiting to catch her, and by the time she comes down, she's a werewolf and eats them. Oh, it's great. It has everything. But the Howling, the original Howling by Joe Dante, one of my favorite horror movies ever. I love it. Just the atmosphere, the special effects, the characters, the story. I mean, I just A+. I'll never forget the first night that I ever watched it. I will always cherish that film and consider it one of the best werewolf movies ever made. Howling 2, Your Sister's a Werewolf, has my favorite subtitle maybe ever in cinema. Really fun, so bad it's good movie. Same director as The Howling 3. Enjoy it a lot. I've seen it probably a dozen times. Really good time. After The Howling 3, we get The Howling 4, which is like a weird remake of the first film that kind of sucks. But it's watchable, I guess. The Howling 5 is like a gothic horror set in a castle that's actually pretty decent as far as Howling sequels go in terms of being like an actually competent film. I had a good time with it, genuinely. Only seen it once though, so who knows. Howling 6, it has a carnival aspect to it, and there's a vampire who's purple. And people love that one. That one's probably the most popular sequel. I saw it once and wasn't really into it, but I didn't dislike it. Definitely due for rewatch. Then we get Howling New Moon Rising, which is probably top 3 worst films I've ever seen in my life. It's so bad it's good, but it's mostly just bad. It is a country musical centered around a bar, a real life bar. And I mean, it's something. I rewatched it just a few days ago and I watched the Joe Bob Briggs on it and some other stuff. And typically I don't go for so bad it's good movies anymore because I love Mystery Science Theater. I think it's some of the funniest, most well-written comedy ever. I mean, that shows such an inspiration for me in so many ways. Just a fan of comedy as well as just being a writer. But a lot of So Bad They're Good movies, there's like 3 minutes of good content, that's kind of funny, and then it's just boring. And I just get this attitude sometimes. It's like, oh, I can't believe they would make this mistake. Like superiority. And generally in cinema, I look for things nowadays that inspire me, that shows like what we can accomplish through art, not necessarily how we can fail. And I do like watching this movie sometimes. And the reason that I want to do this film so badly is because it is bad on a technical level, but it just transcends to this the room like quality where I genuinely enjoy watching it. I think it's a truly entertaining movie, and it is boring in parts. I mean, the ending drags on. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it just breaks that barrier for me. I could watch it any day of the week. And that's it. I mean, I strongly recommend this for fans of bad cinema, or just werewolf movies who are really desperate for something new to watch. I feel like Troll 2 and stuff like that. I think that you'll find something in the Howling 3, the Marsupials. Aside from that, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe to Long Shot Books. We've got all our links down below. We are always very proud to recommend Lexi Spino's book, The Electra Complex. Marie and I were just on the phone yesterday talking about how good it is and how thankful we are that she chose us to publish it. Incredible book. We'll never stop recommending it. And check out Creepy Crap Podcast. I will include the links below. And that's it.